Peace and love, everyone. Welcome back to my the Healing Cypher show. Um, I am your host, Queen Tamara, and I hope everyone this Monday or Moon Day is surrounded by peace, love, and happiness. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to this new week. We have so many exciting things going on. In our world, and we really need to take the time to just enjoy them and celebrate them and to be in the present moment and to be happy. So, welcome again to the Healing Cypher show. If you've been with us for a while, you know we were on Plugged In Radio Network, and now we are streaming live right here on my channel, Astro Healing Art. So please like and subscribe and comment down below. If you have any questions about health and wellness and spirituality, you're in the right place. Please feel free to ask questions, send us email, and we will get back to you promptly. So on this moon day, tonight in the Healing Cypher, we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic that is something we see all around us, and it's oftentimes a topic that is not, in my opinion, adequately explored and dealt with, and that is the phenomenon of toxic, unhealthy relationships. It's been, and brought to my attention in recent months. If you've been keeping up with the news or social media, there's a lot of relationships that are in the public eye that are displays of toxic, unhealthy, um, just destructive relationships and behavior. There's a lot of well-known people in the celebrity world and in the world of social media who have shared their relationships, their romantic relationships, their family relationships with the public, and they're very unhealthy, very just destructive and not pleasant at all. And I'm working on choosing my words wisely, but it's a lot of that that's going on in the world around us, and this is a common issue in many families. And the families of people that I know or that I've observed or grown up around, that this is very common, and many of us do have unhealthy, toxic families, co-workers, friends, etc. Many of us who are light workers and healers, we grew up in unhealthy, toxic environments. And so that was pretty much, for some of us, it was a catalyst for change. And it sent us on a path of seeking different ways to heal from, childhood trauma, PTSD caused by that, other issues, maybe addictions and things like that. And then we found ourselves on a path seeking healing and knowledge and wisdom. And in that search, we healed ourselves, and we were able to sometimes help other people heal. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. So unfortunately, many of us will find ourselves in a toxic relationship at some point in our lives. This is just the reality of the world we live in. And there's many different types of relationships. We're going to talk about that tonight and how they can be toxic. So some of us seem to always be in toxic relationships. You have some people, they grew up in a toxic one. All the people that they were involved with romantically were also toxic, or just bad, destructive relationships that ended unhappily. And they end up marrying someone who's also toxic. And it's just like a cycle, a vicious cycle. And so a lot of times people will say, well, you're the common denominator, so if you're always in these kind of bad relationships, is you're to blame. But it's much deeper than that. And then we don't want to point the finger of blame at people so much and say, well, it's their fault, they keep attracting that kind of person, because I hear people say that a lot. It's their fault, they put themselves in that situation. But it's a lot deeper than that, because a lot of people You know how they say you're a product of your environment, and we are products of the environment around us, which helps shape out and mold our personalities and who we are. And unfortunately, many of our environments are toxic, unhealthy, abusive. And this is what many people grow up with and live with, and they're surrounded by. You're always surrounded by negativity, toxic behavior, narcissists, abusive people, people who have low self-esteem, and they're abusive and bullies, and they feel like the only way they can feel good about themselves is to dim somebody else's light. And if this is what you've always been around, yes, you will attract that or be attracted to that, because that's what is familiar. That is what you know. And many of us grew up in very unfortunate situations, and we were always surrounded by madness, confusion, chaos. That's what is familiar to some people, and it's hard for them to make the transition from that. And it's also hard to heal from that, because this is what you grew up with, and this may have been a pattern of behavior that was passed down from generation to generation. If you look at people who have very difficult, toxic lives, or they make really bad decisions, and you talk to them and you get to the root cause of it, and you start examining, really getting to know people, and not just judging them from the outside, you'll see that their parents may have been the same way, their grandparents were like that, or things may have been worse generations before them, and they're just like trying to cope, or their behavior is just a coping mechanism for the things that they experience, and they don't know any other way, because that's all they saw. If you're surrounded by toxicity and madness, then what is toxicity and madness? You don't really know any other way. That's it. And as someone who has myself, who's a light worker, or who has been around and experienced a lot of these things that we talk about here in the Healing Cypher, and also witnessing it, a lot of people, you know, people judge and say, it's their fault. They brought it on themselves. You have no idea sometimes what people have been through in their lives. And the bottom line is, a lot of people are broken. A lot of people are broken emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And all they know is that fight or flight, that reaction. Their behavior is just, like I said, it's a defense mechanism, or their behavior is this personality, or this way of responding to trauma. And that's what they are. They really don't even sometimes have a personality, because they're always in fight or flight. They're so traumatized, they're so broken, they've experienced a lot of soul loss, and so the only thing they know is to react and to act out, to fight, to just be aggressive, to be overly assertive. This is to be angry all the time, because this is what they had to do to survive, literally. And so this is why they behave the way they do. That's not making an excuse. This is just why people do some of the things they do. Some people who are unhealthy and toxic don't know that they need to heal. They think, they're fine, because that's the persona that they have created, or that wall they put up, and they are convinced that everybody else has the problem, not them. And so, it takes a lot of courage to come to a point in your life where you recognize that I need help and I need to seek help. That is the first big step in healing, is recognizing that you need to heal. And some people let their ego get in the way, and they won't seek help, and they won't admit that they need healing. There's a saying I heard somebody say not too long ago, that the ego won't let you go. So a lot of people, their ego is bigger than their need for healing and for the desire to change. So they know that they need help, but their ego will jump up in there every time and tell them, you don't need any of this, you don't need that. And I've seen people break down and cry and have meltdowns, and then they'll like straighten up and say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I don't need it. No, you're not fine. You just had a screaming fit, or you broke up stuff in the house, or you just did something, just self-destructive or destructive or abusive to somebody else. You're not fine. But they'll tell themselves out loud and in their mind, I'm fine, I don't need anything, I don't need any help. And then the vicious cycle just continues. And unfortunately, a lot of these unhealthy behaviors is inherited from the parents, because we observe them or observed our caretakers, and we adopt those behaviors, whether we some of us are aware of it or not. And it's sometimes passed down from generation to generation. Not only do people pass their DNA down from generation to generation, sometimes they pass down toxic behaviors, negative thought forms, negative destructive behaviors, and it's, you know, it's just a vicious cycle. And somebody needs to be the strong one, and someone strong and courageous enough to break these vicious cycles of toxic behavior, unhealthy behavior, you know, just it needs to stop. People call it generational curses. Somebody needs to be the curse breaker in the family. And if we don't stop it now, if not us, then who? Many people have suffered from these kinds of behaviors for years, and we don't want to pass that down to anyone else. And somebody needs to be the courageous one to stand up and break the cycle. And so we're going to explore what unhealthy relationships are, how to recognize them, and how to break the cycles for your own mental, emotional, physical, and yes, your spiritual health, because they all are connected. What affects one affects the other. So even if you've been, if somebody emotionally abused you and said things to you, some verbal abuse and emotional abuse. Well, let's start with the verbal abuse. Let's say someone verbally abused you and said things to you that were not true and just hurtful and harmful. Those things affect your emotions, your emotional body. Your energy. Emotion stands for energy and motion. It can also have an impact on your physical and spiritual health, because if you are constantly telling yourself or repeating in your head the verbal abuse from someone else, or you just can't seem to get it out of your mind, it will start to affect your body. It can cause things like hypertension, stress in the body. I call stress the silent killer, because it can be very serious. It can cause ulcers, indecisive behavior, just self-destructive behavior, all kinds of things, depression, all based on the things that people have said or the verbal abuse. And many people, adults, are still suffering from the things that someone else, some unhealed person, said or did to them when they were young, especially things that people say. And we know that words carry power, and how important it is to be aware of and be careful and mindful of what you say, because it does matter. Words do matter, and words can hurt. So that's what we're going to be talking about now, how to protect our mental, emotional, physical, and our spiritual health, because it's all interrelated. So the definition of relationship, I Googled it, and relationship is defined as a way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. So we can focus on the way people are connected or the state of their being connected. So connected relationships are connections that are based on marriage or love, your partner, your significant other that you choose. Blood relationships, that is with your family that you were born into. Religion builds relationships as you build relationships with your religious or spiritual community. In the Islamic world, they call it the ummah, which is the brotherhood, the sisterhood, or your church family, your temple family, your the people you worship with or you pray with, chant, whatever. That is a relationship, if you will. Um, Ideologies, people you share the same beliefs or thoughts. It could be political ideology, social, whatever. Your culture, the relationship you build with people that share the same culture and way of life with you. Your friendships, co-workers, business associates, etc. All of these are relationships, and relationships are connected by something, whether it's blood, relatives, blood, ideologies, thoughts, belief systems, the way you practice certain things, which is culture, friendship, working together, whatever. So as people, we're very social beings, and we need communion with others, and this helps us define who we are as we build relationships with others. And traditionally our ancestors lived in more communal settings where members of a family may have lived with other families of their clan. Everybody lived in the clan house, or extended families all lived together, close to each other. And a bunch of extended families would make a village, would make a tribe or clan or whatever. And so we've always functioned together as a group. This is just the way of us, whether the group was, all of the people in your community, your town, your village, your tribe, whatever. This is how we function. And that is building relationships, because you're building a state of connection with each other. Whatever the bond is that bonds you, that is what you use to establish building your relationship. So as social beings, we build these relationships with others. These relationships can begin in the home as children. So in the beginning of our experience here and our existence here, we started out as babies and we were born into a family, or if you let's say if you were given up for adoption, even if you lived in an orphanage or something, you still were a part of some kind of unit. And that's the beginning of it. So our parents and our caregivers, the adults around us, demonstrate behaviors, what's socially accepted, what's not. They model behaviors, and people imitate by seeing. And they demonstrated to us how to treat others by the way they treated us. They showed us, different kind, whatever types of behaviors they showed us, or they displayed in front of us. That was a learning experience. The good, the bad, the ugly, it doesn't matter. This is something that we learned as children by observing, by experiencing, and it started with that first relationship, which is with our caregivers and our parents. Many of us, unfortunately, we learn by seeing, observing, and doing. And many of us learned very unsafe, unhealthy behaviors and thought patterns from the parents and the caregivers. And then many of us were imprinted with unhealthy belief systems and practices that, shaped who we were and what we thought and what we believed. And then many of us started school, or you may have been homeschooled, doesn't matter, but you started school, and in school you were thrust into the public realm at a very young age, early childhood, and you were exposed to a whole other set of behaviors, learning to conform, following another set of rules. You were put into a different structured environment. You were around lots of people. Schools usually have hundreds of people, strangers. You were learning to develop friendships. You were learning about socially acceptable behaviors at school. You were experiencing developing friendships, getting to know people, experiencing bullies, etc. All of this, was in the school environment, because school is like a microcosm. So here you are, you go from the home um, to the school environment, both places where you can learn to build and establish relationships. And then, you went to church or the mosque or the temple, depending on, what type of spiritual practices or religious practices that you grew up around, which also puts you in contact with other people and lots of different types of experiences. So home, school, the temple, the church, the mosque, all of these are teaching us about relationships, the good side, the bad, the ugly. We're learning how to communicate, how to express ourselves, or maybe we didn't learn how to express ourselves. We learned to suppress how our voice, or we didn't find our voice till later. But all of this is something which you're learning, you're absorbing, and you're learning it in these environments as a child. This is the foundation, and it's shaping you for your behavior as you get older to some degree. So many of us learn this toxic behavior in the home, and unfortunately, this behavior and thought patterns can last a lifetime. The stuff that we learned during childhood can sometimes, the things that we observed and experienced, sometimes it can scar a person for life. And it's really difficult to change those patterns of behavior, especially if this is all you've seen and you haven't seen a healthier example or a better example, if you don't even know that a better example exists. So it can take years to break unhealthy habits and it heal from these patterns. So some people don't even recognize it, like I said earlier, as unhealthy, because they are either numb to the toxicity or they have become toxic themselves. So a lot of times people will say or judge a person, why do they stay in this bad relationship? Why do they let that person talk to them like that? Why do they let this person treat them like that? Woo, woo, woo. Why do they stay? Why do they put up with it? You got to look at that person. Are they toxic? Are they as toxic as the person that's mistreating them? Are they an abuser too? Or do they just feel so broken and their self-esteem so low that they feel like they can't get anything better, they can't do any better? Have they given up? Do they feel hopeless? Do they feel like they deserve to be it's so many different factors, and and the bottom line is the person needs healing, and whether they recognize it or not, but they need healing. So tonight we're going to be seeing, we see a lot of this bad behavior in society, and it's a very real problem. And I think it's a source of a lot of pain and trauma that people experience. Childhood trauma is very, very serious, and it all starts with the relationships we had with the our caregivers, and those relationships often have an impact on how we feel about ourselves. If you, and that's a whole nother show. I think we've done one on that before. But it all goes back to how you felt and were treated growing up, and what did you learn from how you were treated. How did this shape your self-esteem or your self-worth, or your feelings to about yourself and others, And a lot of times people who have been abused or neglected and mistreated, they become cold, they become abusers, they become narcissists sometimes. They become just angry and bitter because of the way they were treated, and they have a hard time healing from that and letting that pain go. So they will sometimes take it out on others. Like you hear the saying, hurt people hurt people. So that's where a lot of that comes from. All right. And social media is providing a platform for a lot of toxic relationships. And many people are finding this behavior as a form of entertainment, because I'm hearing from others and seeing as well that a lot of, videos showing when people post something that is involving like some verbal abuse or physical abuse or some kind of ugly behavior, oftentimes it goes viral and gets lots of views. So there is, we do have people in our society that have an appetite for that kind of behavior and find it amusing, find it entertaining, to see people fighting, to see people, cursing each other out, making somebody cry, putting someone down. And then there's people who have mental health issues and they use social media, to film themselves having breakdowns, talking about, all kinds of things. But these same people that are doing these things, they're not really moving towards a healthy outlet for their emotions and their pain or seeking healing. They're just online, screaming and crying, having meltdowns, talking about, unaliving themselves or whatever. And, this, it's just all kinds of stuff. And so in the healing cycle, we are really focused on healing and restoring balance, which is what healing is all about. So, some people, we said earlier, leave toxic families and then start their own toxic family because they themselves need to heal, and they're starting to just imitate the things that were familiar to them or that they saw. And these patterns will continue and continue if you don't recognize it and healing. So, what is a toxic relationship? Let's go from the beginning. What is a toxic relationship? Most of us never got any kind of instruction on how to have a relationship. Peace and love, Samaya. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Peace and love. So, what is a toxic relationship? We started there. And like I said, many of us have never been taught how to have a healthy relationship, how to set boundaries, what is acceptable, what is not, you know, even in any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship, people working together. A lot of times people that the workplace can be a toxic environment for many people, where people are verbally and sometimes physically abused. Their boundaries are not respected. There's a lot of bullying sometimes in the workplace environment, narcissism, harassment, all kinds of things that can go on because of the lack of respect and the lack of mutual respect for people's boundaries, or just the desire to treat one another with kindness and respect and decency. So a toxic relationship is any relationship that you don't feel honored, safe, protected, loved, valued, or appreciated. Period. That's any relationship, whether it's friendship, family, a significant other, a spouse, work, co-workers, whatever, your neighbors, whoever. If you don't feel safe, honored, protected, loved, valued, appreciated, then that's just not that's a toxic relationship. And then it's also reciprocal. Make sure that you are treating another person with the same honor and the respect and appreciation that you in turn would want. And it's if you're not feeling these in a relationship, then it's probably toxic. If the person always makes you feel bad, if you find yourself sad or angry or crying a lot, or just feeling disrespected a lot, then chances are it's a toxic, it's an unhealthy relationship. um, as a child, if you're a child and you're living in a toxic or abusive family, you may feel trapped because you can't leave. And children are don't have the freedom most of the times to make their own decisions, so they may feel trapped in this kind of situation, which is very unfortunate. So if you're a child and you feel like you're in a dangerous or toxic situation, please tell an adult that you can trust. But for us adults, we have to recognize toxicity and the unhealthy behaviors and break the bond between us and the toxic people. Um, if you grew up in an abusive or neglectful environment where your boundaries were never respected, or allowed, you never were allowed to have boundaries. So you may not know how to create boundaries. You may feel uncomfortable saying no. You may have been treated roughly or mishandled by narcissists, and you may have grown up to be a people pleaser and always feeling like you have to um, overextend yourselves for others, but they're not doing that for you. And you find yourself doing a lot of enabling, making excuses for other people. That's not good for you. So learn to set boundaries. Regardless of what our part of the healing process, our past may have been toxic, whether it was, we were abused or neglected or mistreated. But now that we are in the healing process, learn to set boundaries with everyone. And you can't have boundaries that are fluid and they're not stable. You got to be stand firm, stand in your square, and set your boundaries. If someone won't allow you to have boundaries, that's problematic, and that is a toxic relationship too. So set boundaries. No, boundaries are learning to say no, and learning what you will and will not accept from others, and being firm about that as an adult. Okay. So you can say no to things you don't want in your life. If someone tries to, make you feel bad for saying no, or, try to make you feel guilty, that's a problem as well. And setting boundaries is the first step towards empowerment. And if they have a problem with your boundaries, they don't want to respect it, then it's up to you to decide how you're going to handle when someone doesn't respect your boundaries. Are you going to walk away? Are you going to stop talking to this person? Are you going to stand up for yourself? Because you have the right to do that. So you set boundaries by determining what you're comfortable with and what you will allow or will not allow in your life. So if you have to decide that you are not going to allow people to abuse you or to control you, and then stick to that. Stop letting people overstep boundaries and mistreat you just because they're older than you, just because they're family members, or you feel sorry for them, or this is someone close to you, or whatever the case may be, is not acceptable. And you have to let them know that certain behaviors are just not acceptable, and you're not going to tolerate it. um and if you have to cut off contact and communication with that person because they won't respect your boundaries, then do so. They will feel the loss of your presence. Your energy will be missed. And, that's something that they need to think about, because you established boundaries. They wouldn't honor them and respect them. So you had to cut off ties with them. That's the consequences of their action. And toxic people need someone to feed off of, and it won't be you, because you have established your boundaries and you decided to walk away because they wouldn't respect yours. Period. In the story. So another thing you can do with the how to heal from toxic relationships is recognize and avoid narcissists and abusive people. Most abusive people are narcissists, not all of them. Um, and there's different forms of abuse. So I did a video on my YouTube channel last year. I did a series of them actually with a therapist about narcissists. So either watch that or watch Dr. Romney, and there's many other doctors that have videos online about narcissists, and there's probably books out there too to read to educate yourself on what a narcissist is, so that you can be aware of these people and the games that they play and the manipulation, so you can protect yourself from them. But be on the lookout for that. Educate yourself on them. And, they exist everywhere. There's some that's more subtle with their mind tricks that they use in the manipulation. And then there's others that use more abuse and violence and gaslighting to control their victims. But either way, they're dangerous people. They're toxic, and this is not someone that you want to be victimized or mistreated by. So make sure that you recognize the signs and are protecting yourself from that. And if you are a narcissist, work on forgiving whoever hurt you in your life and learning to have empathy for others, and not being controlling and manipulative. That you cannot control and manipulative everyone in situations. You don't have to have total control over everything and everyone to feel safe and to feel secure in yourself. So those are things that we got to work on. Another thing to do when it comes to healing yourself from toxic relationship is choose your friends and your lovers wisely. Many of us are so careful about our clothes and how we wear our hair, our makeup, our outer appearance. But when it comes to friendship and our intimate partners and the people that we choose to love and be with, we are so indiscriminate, and we really need to be cognizant of that and aware that you really got to be careful of the company that you keep. You may have heard that when you were younger. That still applies. Be careful of the people that you let into your circle and into your life. Take time to get to know people before you get involved with them, and that is friends and significant others. All of them. Treat them. Everybody. You need to take time to get to know people. Watch and observe their behaviors before you get involved with anyone, especially a significant other. Please watch and observe their behavior. Don't get so excited to be with someone. Don't feel like you got to settle for less. Don't feel like, oh, I haven't had a man in a long time, or I haven't been with a woman in a long time, and you just jump on the first train smoking. No, 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 no. Always get to know people. Take your time. There's no need to rush, and observe them. Watch them. Watch how they treat others. Watch how they act in public places. Be friends with them first. Establish a relationship before you establish any kind of bond with them. And relationship is connection. Connect to them. Connect and see how they behave, how they treat people, what are some of their thought forms, and their ideas. If they have children, how do they treat their children? Are they a deadbeat mom, a deadbeat dad? I mean, you really can't expect much out of them if they won't even treat their own family well. Watch how they treat their exes, how they treat their mother, their father. How do they treat their friends? Are they a janky person with their friends? Then chances are they may turn on you the same way. You got to watch them. Are they jealous natured? Are they confused and confusing? Are they selfish? Are they spiteful? How do they treat people when they get angry? Are they someone that's prone to rages? All of that matters. Are they controlling? Watch and observe before you get in too deep with another person, whether it's significant other or a friend. I have had some toxic friendships before in the past, and always watch the people because they give you signs. There's always signs. There's always going to be red flags. Pay attention to red flags. Do not ignore them, because eventually you may meet someone and you all are friends, or establish a relationship or whatever, and everything will seem okay in the beginning, because a lot of times people, when you meet them, they are showing you their representative, and they are putting on a front, as you will, or this is their outer appearance. They're trying to impress you. They're being on their very best behavior sometimes, and they are conscious of you trying to impress you. And then when they get comfortable, and it's gonna happen eventually, with in a few weeks. Give it a few weeks, give it a few months. When they get comfortable, they kind of let their guard down, and then you'll start to see some, as they say, the skeletons in the closet start falling out. The red flags start going up. Red, I mean bright red will start popping up. You'll start to meet people that know them, or you'll start to see how they act in different situations, and the crazy will come out. The other issues will come out, and you got to make some serious decisions, like, is this somebody that I want to continue seeing? Is this a friend that I can bring around my family? Is this somebody I even want to be friends with? Because if they treat other people janky, like I said, eventually it will circle back to you as well. So you got to kind of be careful. Choose your friends like you choose your food. Be really careful. Be very be choicey. Don't be so quick to just accept anything. Just because you want friends, or a significant other, or don't ever let anybody make you feel that you got to settle for less, because especially people who are controlling and narcissistic, they will try to, and those I said try, they will try to make you feel that you can't go on without them, that you need them, but really it's the other way around. But they will try to make you feel like you need them. You can't achieve certain things without them, without their help, without their knowledge and their guidance. You're nothing, or whatever, all the nonsense that they tell people. I made you, I did this for you, they always say I. So you have to let them know that no, it's me. I'm not dealing with this kind of behavior. I'm not accepting abuse or mistreatment, or somebody that's emotionally unattached, or just the bad behaviors, and just walk away. And then you can't win an argument with some abusive people, so just don't say anything to them. Just cut them off. Say what you got to say and just keep it moving. So choose the people that you want in your life wisely. Remember when you were a child, and if you may not have had the freedom to choose what kind of people you were around, but now as an adult you do. You can make choices and just choose wisely. Family, choose better people. Just make better choices about the people that you associate with and that you have around you. And especially if you are a parent, you got to be really careful of what kind of people you have around your children, and what behavior patterns they're displaying to your children. Okay, so keep that in mind. Another thing, when there's so crucial to healing from toxic relationships and avoiding toxic relationships, is you have to get to know yourself by spending time alone. So if you're leaving a toxic relationship, or before you get involved with anything, spend some time alone, getting to know yourself. You are your best company, and you need to have the very best relationship with yourself. It all begins with self. I know you probably have heard that before. If you haven't, you've heard it tonight. It all begins with self. What have the ultimate best relationship with yourself? How do you treat yourself? Do you practice self-love and self-care? Are you kind to yourself? Are you respectful to yourself? Do you have self-respect? All of this is important, and it affects the relationship that you have with other people. So part of the healing process from any toxic abuse or neglect is to be alone to heal. You need some time alone to heal. You have to remove yourself from the unhealthy situations and places and people, and allow yourself that grace and that time to heal and to restore your mind and your spirit. During this time, you can clear your mind, um, begin a new chapter in your life, wipe the slate clean, and realize that, the past is the past. You no longer live it in the past, put it behind you, bury it, and move forward. Stay in the present moment. Focus on your goals. Um, what are your goals? Do you have them? If you don't, then start making some of your own goals, because if you've been abused, those goals you thought you had may have been the wishes of others. It may have been something that someone else told you, but you create your own goals, which you want. Work on the boundary setting, work on self-love, self-healing, and just in general healing and restoring your mind, restoring your spirit, restoring your self-esteem, working on your self-worth, developing your own sense of self and self-respect, dignity, all of that. This is scary for some people, which I get it. A lot of people never take the time to sit with themselves and work on their healing and work on, healing their minds. So some people, once they end a relationship, they are quick to jump in another one because that's their comfort zone, or they're seeking comfort or validation or something. So they're quick to start something else, but take some time to be alone to heal. All right. So as your mind begins to change, um, so will your surroundings, and it's nearly impossible to heal in an environment that made you sick. So if you live with or near the persons that created the toxic relationships, the toxic behaviors, you need to think about um, moving and getting a new surroundings. All right. So living with them may need to come to a screeching halt. Living near them, if you're in the same town with them and there's like a lot of bad memories, or every time you run into them, it's a situation where they don't want to respect your boundaries. If it's family members who create a toxic environment for you, every time you're around, you got to make a decision. Do you want to continue as you were, or start something new and healthier? And so you may have to remove yourself and change your surroundings. Once you change your surroundings and around a different caliber of people in a different place, you will begin to the healing process will accelerate. And then you can't heal around the same toxic people. Once your mind starts to change and you decide that you want to change your life, and change the way you think, change the way you feel, you will begin to just automatically move yourself into a different space and time, and you will you'll no longer be around the same people that you were before, the unhealed version of you. So let's say, just for example, if you were a person who had a drug addiction, and you were always smoking, always, and everybody you hung around did the same thing. So once you decide that this is not the life for me, I don't want to do this anymore, I need to break this cycle, and then you go put yourself into rehab, or find some other, holistic center or something to break the habit. And once you start the healing process and heal, you no longer can be around those people that you used to get high with, because that's all that they want to do. And now that you have shifted your consciousness in a different direction, you are not going to be doing that anymore. And so your time spent with them is going to be less and less. And if it's too much of a temptation, you may have to just stop communicating with them all together until you're stronger and well. And once you're fully healed and in a different mind frame, you're no longer interested in the same things that those people were interested in when you were in that space. You're a different person now. You be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So once your mind changes, your behavior will begin to change, your life will begin to change, and everything around you, you will emanate a different type of energy, and you'll no longer be interested in the things that you used to do. And your communication with them will cease to exist, because you all don't think alike, you're not vibing the same. Is no need. All right, another thing that you can do to help you with healing from a toxic relationship is read a good self-help book. There's lots of them out there. If Get an ebook, get a paperback book, whatever, visit the library. The library has lots of books on people sharing their healing journeys, or doctors or psychotherapists who've written books about healing from different things, whether it's PTSD, childhood trauma, abuse, neglect, whatever the situation was. If you were a child that might have been abandoned, someone may have written a book about that, how to heal or what steps to take to restore your life. If you can't find a good self-help book, maybe you could write your own book. Start writing, keeping a journal, write your thoughts on it. Perhaps your journey, from your healing journey, because we're all going on healing journeys, maybe your healing journey can be the inspiration for another person. There's someone that may be looking for an answer or some guidance, how to rebuild their life, how to restore their mind, how to heal from something, and they don't know. Your experience may be the catalyst to help someone else find the courage to heal themselves, or your journey, your story may be the guidance or the support that another person needs. So think about writing your own book, sharing your journey. But in the meantime, see if you can find self-help books to help you through your journey, help you change your mind, help you recover, help you with the healing process. Another thing you can do is seek therapy, seek a therapist or group support, which is really helpful to help you in the healing process. Because coming out of an unhealthy relationship, surviving toxicity, you're going to need a support team. You're going to need, some cheerleaders. You're going to need help. You're going to need, whether it's a therapist or a psychiatrist, a healer, someone that you can talk to and give you good, sound, judgment-free advice, and to help you begin the healing process, and to help you to recognize that what is healthy and what isn't, and what you will allow and what you won't allow. A therapist can help you with creating boundaries. Learning how to create boundaries, learning how to heal yourself. All of these things are beneficial, and there's different strategies that you can learn from seeking help. And help comes in many different forms. So seek the one that feels right to you, that feels best to you, that makes you feel honored and appreciated. And so all of that is so very important when it comes to our healing and healing from toxicity. I'll just leave it at that. Toxicity. All right. So tonight we have so far no questions in the chat. Um, if you have questions and you don't want to share them, with the public, that's fine too. You can send me an email. My email is at the bottom of the screen. And so we're going to close out tonight's show with the meditative thought of the week. And the meditative thought: healing is a process and takes time. The first step in the process is to recognize that you need to heal. Everybody's healing journey is different, and don't compare yours to another. We are in a new era of change, and more people are dedicating time to healing, their mental health, and self care. The time of ignoring abuse, being complicit, and minimizing abuse is over. So start your journey today. Allow yourself to grow and blossom as you heal your own mind, body, and spirit. So remember, family, your light in the darkness. Stay tuned to next week's shows on Mondays, every Monday, 7 p.m. live for the Healing Cypher show. And Wednesdays, join me at 9 p.m. Different topics at that time. Love, peace, good health, and abundance. I love each and every one of you. Peace and great blessings.